Now, allow me to move to our lecturer for today's session, to the person that we have invited to discuss about a very timely subject, such as rethinking the Mediterranean energy landscape in times of transition. I mean, it was Sandrine who was speaking of the effects that both the COVID-19 pandemic or the socioeconomic consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the war in Ukraine, have triggered in creating significant volatility and disruption in Mediterranean energy markets. I think that we are all experiencing that in our own homes. We are experiencing that in all the countries. And today we want to really focus on how the countries of the South are trying to move forward this energy transition. And at the same time, how they can do that by ensuring direct access and basic access to energy. Because, of course, this region, I mean, all these countries, as it happens also in the northern Mediterranean countries, are sometimes showing an excessive dependence on foreign supply of energies. I'm thinking in countries like Morocco, Tunisia, Jordan, for instance, that, I mean, the case of Egypt is changing. You will be able to tell us more. But there are countries that, as they do not produce energy, they don't have means to produce energy, they have to import this energy, as we do, and therefore they are very dependent from their inputs. But if there are like 2 or 3 countries in the region that have shown a certain progression in the last years when it comes to their transition, to their green transition, this is Morocco, Jordan, and Egypt. And I think that today's lecturer comes at a very timely moment in order to speak and reflect upon this issue. Ahmed Kandil is a senior fellow and head of the Energy Studies program at Al-Ahram Centre for Political and Strategic Studies. This is the most prestigious research institute in Egypt. Dr. Kandil is also a fellow of the National Defense College, Nasser Higher Military Academy in Cairo. He's also a fellow of the Japanese Institute of International Affairs in Tokyo, and he's also the editor-in-chief of the Marsat Al-Taka, or Energy Monitor journal, which is published by the Al-Ahram Centre and concerned with energy-related issues. Well, he holds a Bachelor in Political Science from Cairo University, a Master of International Relations, and also a PhD of International Relations from Sophia University in Tokyo. And he also appears regularly in a number of important TV channels, such as the BBC in its Arabic service, Sky News, Egyptian TV, and many others. We are very happy. We have been cooperating with Ahmed for many years. In fact, today, I mean, he's coming here in this building for second time, which is a good thing. And he just landed only an hour ago from Cairo. So we're very happy to have you among us. And now the way we will conduct this session is that he will be able to make a presentation for 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll open up for questions, whoever wants to ask questions, or we can ask questions. Thank you so much. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here again in Barcelona. It's a great city, and this is my second time to visit after a kind invitation of IE Med before. I would like to thank Club From and the Kasha Foundation and everyone who contributed to me to be here today. Actually, I haven't prepared any lecture or any presentation. I just will depend upon our dialogue. Dialogue is very important. I myself believe that we have a lot of literature, we have a lot of theoretical arguments related to SDGs and how to make sustainable development. But since United Nations initiated SDGs, I don't think there is a lot have been done in the Mediterranean region to achieve development. We need dialogue because as Egyptian coming from the southern part of the Mediterranean, I feel that we are not talking enough with each other. We don't listen to our solutions to the challenges and to threats to our well-being. And that's why I believe that dialogue is very important to promote our common understanding of crisis, challenges which we have. Energy transition is very important to human security. Without having energy, people cannot live in peace and in prosperity. Energy is touching every aspect of our life, so that without energy, it's impossible to live. And the Ukrainian crisis showed us recently, even if we could have energy, but with high prices, it's also another big problem. Having a just price or affordable price is very important. Energy transition is a stone which, in my opinion, could kill two birds. First is to reduce our high dependence on oil and gas producing countries like Russia. At the same time, to keep our environmental safe. We can't deal with climate change without having clean energy and without having energy transition. What we need to talk about is the challenges which we have to achieve energy transition. The biggest obstacle or the key priority which we think it's important for achieving energy transition, not only in the Mediterranean region, but also in the world, is to provide finance to fund the huge investment needed for the energy transition projects. As you know, trillions of dollars are needed to fund these projects. Everyone in our region can accept that we have a serious climate change, and we need to make adaptation and mitigation projects to do this. It's, of course, nobody can ignore the scientific knowledge behind these facts. But how to fund these new projects? Climate justice, some people in our region, in Egypt, in Morocco, in Algeria, in Libya, have different opinions about the importance of energy transition in the coming days. Some of them are saying that it's not just justice for us to spend millions of dollars to have renewable energy projects, energy efficiency projects, or transforming our transportation system to achieve. We only responsible for a very small amount of carbon emissions or green gas emissions. All the Mediterranean region only responsible for 7% of GHG, yes. So why we spend billions of dollars? Where are the obligations made by Paris Agreement by advanced and industrialized countries to help developing people to make energy transition? poverty will increase if we implement such projects at the expense of people urgent needs, especially in education, in health services. So we cannot sacrifice our limited resources on such projects. We didn't fulfill our basic needs projects. So how we can accept this? Other people, some other people as well, are talking about green colonialism, which means that advanced and Western countries wanted us to leave our resources, which is basically based upon fossil fuels, gas and oil. So this is our main source of income. So if we follow these recommendations by international institutions like International Energy Agency or International IRENA or many institutions now raised the slogans of green transition and the energy transition. This will destroy our economies. This will destroy our people's lives, daily life. And we cannot accept foreign countries to interfere in our domestic affairs based on these arguments. So we need dialogue to change these people's awareness of the problem. We also need dialogue to encourage advanced and industrialized countries to pay their obligations under Paris Agreement. This $100 billion for helping developing countries to achieve their decarbonization targets. So Egypt will host this year the COP27, and I think Spain and Egypt could cooperate together in giving solutions to the challenges facing these negotiations, these long negotiations between different groups of nations. And also we can work together in the region of the Mediterranean to find solutions, especially for funding and for financing these projects. Until now, of course, compared to 10 years or 15 years ago, now the southern shore of the Mediterranean witnessed tremendous progress in achieving renewable energy projects. And now we have a historical level of electricity produced by renewable energy, basically based on sun and wind. But still, we have a huge potential. And this potential will not be utilized in the lack of support of the advanced countries. Technology transfer, financing mechanism, sharing lessons of successful experiences. So I think we should think about also something like European Union initiated what's called Green Deal. Why we don't think about Mediterranean Green Deal or charter for energy transition in the Mediterranean? This charter will represent a roadmap for all stakeholders in the region, businessmen, governments, civil society, NGOs, think tanks, scientific community, to think together how we can put targets and how to achieve it according to a specific limits of time. I think now with this geopolitical crisis in Ukraine, working on the global level would be harder and harder. And that's why we should look at the regional level to face our common challenges. And Mediterranean level could be one of these regional forums that could deal with such real challenges for the human well-being in this regard. You know, all of us, I think, can touch how climate change affected our daily life, high temperature, a high level, sea level rise. And this will destroy coastal cities in many countries in the Mediterranean, especially, for example, in Egypt. Alexandria is under a real threat of flooding or from a sea level rise. And if we have such catastrophe, 4 million Egyptians would have to leave their homes in north of Egypt and move everywhere, maybe to north, to south, to east, to west. We don't know what could happen. So this just give you a little example how climate change could affect the stability of the region. So I would like to stop here and open the floor for any further discussion. And sorry for not preparing a lecture or presentation or PowerPoint, because I really wanted to make it more dialogue than lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. And now we will open up the floor for comments, questions. I think you touch upon some very interesting statements or facts. One of those being, well, as we are moving towards a weakening of the international scene, let's focus on the regional scale. And there we have big work to do, because even if I can agree with you that the European Union cannot impose targets on the southern and eastern Mediterranean countries, because, as you rightly said, well, you are only responsible for the 7% of the GHG in the world. It is also true that we sometimes, from the north, we see a lack of understanding from the decision makers of the south and east of the Mediterranean on the need to foster all these mitigating and adapting measures to advance on the combat of climate change and to advance on the energy transition. Equally, I said, well, there are a few exceptions. I said, well, Morocco, Jordan, Egypt are 3 countries that are, at least until 2020, I didn't look into the situation after the pandemic, but until the 2020, they were promoting all these changes, especially in the field of renewables. So indeed, you touched upon very interesting ideas, and as he proposed, we would like now to engage in a dialogue with you. You can, of course, ask your questions or make your statements or comments in whatever language you want. Well, not in all the languages, but you can use English, you can do it in Catalan or Spanish, as you wish. Go ahead.
Hi. I don't know, it could be for any of you, so really. Yeah, maybe for I don't know, in the recent development of the situation between Algeria and Spain,
That's for me.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because it's really recent, maybe the really latest developments. How do you foresee the energetic panorama of Spain and hence the European Union going?
Well, I think you should ask this question to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Spain. The only thing we can say from the side of the IMF, where we have been, of course, looking, assessing, and understanding the evolution of the gas supply contracts between Spain and Algeria for a very long time, because these contracts have lasted for nearly 30 years. More with Italy, by the way, because there the pipeline that connects Algeria with Italy via Tunisia is older than the one that was operating before it was shut down in November last year. But what we have observed is that the reliability of the gas supplies from the side of Algeria has always been there. Sonatrach has always been a reliable company supplying natural gas to Spain and all its clients. And we don't see a reason why this should change. So let's hope that natural gas will continue to flow. In any case, what I can tell you is that in the last 3 years, Spain is much less dependent on the Algerian gas, because Spain started to import, like many other countries, has started to import natural gas from the United States, basically, and Qatar, but basically from the United States. So that also means that in the attempt that what I have just said is not happening, and Algeria doesn't, or in that case, Sonatrach is not behaving as it has always behaved, being a very reliable and solid partner, well, then I think that Spain has alternatives to basically offset this problem.
If I may add something,
please.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting question actually, and my remark here is energy transition could reduce such tensions between countries based on their geostrategic and geopolitical aspirations to get the gas and oil from their neighbors. If you have your own renewable energy sources, then you will reduce your dependence on your neighbors who you will need them. And this is on the theoretical level, of course, but in practical way, we should expect more tensions in the regions in the coming days. And if you follow what is happening now between Israel and Lebanon, between Turkey and Cyprus, and between, to less extent, between Spain and Algeria, you can find that, you know, we are going to see more tensions and more escalations, and we will see using oil and gas as a geopolitical weapon in the hands of those who exporting it. And of course, the situation now is very critical because of the Ukrainian crisis and the panic which is now characterizing the global energy market. You know, the problem now is not demand and supply issues, but the panic. No one can predict what will happen tomorrow. And what will Russia do, for example, in response to the extreme sanctions imposed on it from the United States and some European countries? So this panic is very dangerous, and this panic is causing what we have seen now from rising tensions and escalations. Just my
Gemma.
Thank you very much for your speech, and I find a lot of ideas that perhaps we can talk a little bit about. We always think, I think with the Ahmed also we have been working a lot on this, but I think there is a difficulty to implement the 2030 agenda in the Mediterranean. Because we used to take for granted that we have the same approach to the holistic point of view of this agenda. And the challenge that you say it's necessary the dialogue, and you translate to us a little kind that I agree of different approaches from the north and the southern about what is energetic transition, what is climate change. I think that, I don't know, this is a question mark for you. Perhaps we have different moments. We pretend to have a global agenda. But when we go to the region, we see that there is, in fact, a different agenda for transitions. Yeah. And we pretend not to see this. And this Western approach to the Green Deal make me think that you are right in the sense that perhaps with good intentions, we pretend to go to a common place where we are not ready to go yet. So in the middle of this, there are these energetic crises and this need to find solutions. You came from Egypt, and of course, Egypt has all this challenge there. You have this tension, no, I think, between development and the need also to clean the country, is what the director of EMET said, that the great effort you do because your demography, because you need to let me say, go to this politics, no? So my question finally is, I find really, really interesting to speak about this need of common agenda, and I think this initiative of EMET and Nakaisha is really in this way. But, you know, it's difficult to put the accent on this because we need to understand the other's perspective. So you come from finally you came from a country that really has a big, big challenge on these transitions. In which way you consider that we can develop this dialogue or this collaboration? Which 2 or 3 issues do you consider will need to make this agenda working, not in a Western perspective, but also helping you in these transitions? Because if you go to Cairo or to Alexandria, you can see the challenge, of course. The city needs and the space need this transition, but you need also to have these incomes that you talk about, this gas that you are now also looking for this opportunity, for example. If you are doing a transition to this green without having in mind what will be the benefits of this transition, and in the short time, you need to develop with a very big or in a very high level, no? So, finally, just to understand or to listen your opinion about which priorities, from your point of view, not from the global agenda, you consider this agenda can be done in the Mediterranean. In which basis? Perhaps a first exercise is to exchange perceptions between the policymakers from the 2 sides a little bit, and to provide these spaces where this dialogue should be much more open and less determined by agendas that are really oriented, no, at the very beginning.
Thank you very much for your this interesting remarks and question. Actually, I totally agree with you. We have different perspectives to the same issues, or even to the same problems. But I think the first step is to think like a family, not like neighbors. This is very important starting point because this is you know, how we already have a common identity. We are sharing the same area. We have many common thinking, and then we have to search for the common interest or the common benefit for both sides according to their priorities. Some priorities, I think, energy, of course, is one very important area of cooperation between North and South of Mediterranean. We still have a high potential for renewable energy. We have huge resources of natural gas, and natural gas could be considered as a way of energy transition. It's cleaner than oil and coal, for example. So we have to develop such mentality. Natural gas could be used as a transitional fuel. Green hydrogen has a tremendous and huge possibility of cooperation between both sides. We can, in southern countries like Egypt, Jordan, maybe Libya if it's settled, or Algeria or Morocco, they can produce green hydrogen. And this hydrogen could be transferred to Europe by way or another. But still, we need to develop our strategies and policies to And also we have to be sure about the market, about the European market, because European market is not clear for us to invest or to attract investors to work on these projects. We had bad experience in the past, and we have to learn the lessons from Desert Tech project. It was a huge project to export sun from north to south, but suddenly stopped. And no, we should learn the lessons of why this project stopped. Building awareness. Awareness is nobody care in Egypt actually. Or I cannot say this, but many people are not interested in climate change. Despite we are hosting COP27, people started, what is COP, what is climate change? It's just a new thing for many. And I think many people in the Mediterranean region, even in our North partners, they don't care. They don't touch it, you know. So building networks between think tanks, academia, scientific community to show people the importance of energy transition, fighting climate change. I think this also could be, but we have to find sources of finance to such ideas, how we develop it, and how we make communication more easier in the future. So this is some ideas responding to your question.